Of all the tracks our drivers are visiting this season, Indy has the most history by far. It holds more than a century of racing that includes series as varied as Formula One, NASCAR, IMSA, and above all, IndyCar. But tonight, it'll be Porsche's domain during round 5 of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup North America. And while high speeds will be in order tonight, last week saw some hot laps as well as hot tempers. Let's look back at Road America's highlights. Green flag is out. Everybody starts to take off. And so far, it is pretty even all up and down the order. I'm not seeing anybody really with a huge jump over the others, but we've got some 3 wide back in there, 4 wide potentially, and we've got another accident starting to happen right at the start. Multiple cars, my goodness.
And now we got more action going into turn number 5, bumper-to-bumper contact, but thankfully they sorted out.
There it is. Green flag is out, and immediately everybody is poking their nose. Jaden Munoz gets a great run. Troncoso does as well, but he switches lanes once again. Everybody dodging back and forth to try to figure out what is going to be the best opening.
You see the train in front of him taking the racing line, trying to go around the outside, gets one. Can he keep it on the racetrack? No, has to lift up out of the gas. So Troncoso is now split up those Coanda cars up front. The next on the list is our leader, Mitchell DeYoung, in that number 48 car, the guy that's been pretty much untouchable so far this series.
Gregory Hoveson just behind them. Watches a battle between Denoyer and Campbell. Kevin is going to be able to take that spot away. Greg says, now's my chance.
Now got the benefit of the slipstream, now pops out driver's right, and Bouchard is actually going to kind of let him go, so that was a nice, easy pass.
Christian Muniz, what a race this has been for him. Can he get one more? That's Morgan Burkhardt, and Morgan not going to fight it. Christian now up into 11th, 22 spots. Who is going to go side by side, make that Nathan Olson in front of him. Oh, they banged doors coming off the corner.
He's certainly peeking down to the inside. There he goes, officially moves down to the inside of the racetrack, trying to outbrake ETN on the outside, but my goodness, getting in the gas. Xander Reed, by the way, was just side by side with Manny Troncoso. Troncoso's going to lose second spot all the way down to 6th place. This happened in turn 3.
Here's the move down into turn 3, stuck his nose in. From that angle, I don't know how to read it per se. And this is for the final points gain position. It only goes to 15th. Burkhardt holds that one right now. Ferguson wants it, Olsen wants it, and Levesque wants it. They're going to go 2 by 2. Noah's Ark down into turn 5 with the advantage going to Morgan still.
Oh man, a little bit of door-to-door on the front straightaway. Let's see if it erupts into turn number 1 or if they play nicely, still side by side. A little bit of dirt kicked up from the group in front of them. When just in front, there's a car potentially going off of the racetrack. I think that was Hassan maybe getting 2 wheels into the dirt in turn number 1.
Up to Mitchell DeYoung. The perfection continues here in Wisconsin. He is going to take a victory as he even has a little scratch of his neck. Calm as you can be, a victory for the 48. At the front of all of it, pretty much the entire race, it was Mitchell DeYoung, your victor. Michael Janney was P2. Antoine Lacharité gets his first podium, I believe, in Well, obviously, we say this a lot, but that was a drama-filled race. And I'm Joe Peak once again here with Jake Sperry to bring you the action for round number 5. And behind the scenes, we have Christian Duploy along with Daniel Costello using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But for the first time, we've had someone other than Xander Reed finish second, Jake, but it is still Mitchell DeYoung who is absolutely topping the charts.
Well, Mitchell DeYoung is one of the best sim racers in the world. He's one of the best racers out there, period, as well, if you put him onto transferability. I think that you're looking at a sim racer who has embodied the spirit for over a decade of what Coanda is all about. He is someone who absolutely hits his marks every single time and has that level of metronomic consistency that, simply put, just does not miss. He's only 2 races away from perfection, but critically, he has a really strong opportunity to seal things up with 1 round to spare.
Exactly, and we'll go over those iterations in a bit. But before we do, let's talk a little bit about what we've gone through this season, because as we said, we're in that penultimate round. So taking a look at our calendar, it all kicked off when we started things in Sebring. And then from there, we headed over to Miami International Autodrome. Watkins Glen held round 3. And then last week, it was Road America. Indianapolis for tonight's event. We'll then see things round out at Road Atlanta for the series finale here in 2026. Should be interesting with a couple of very classic tracks, although Atlanta a little bit newer than Indianapolis, but both of them with much shorter laps than what we've been used to, Jake.
Yeah, and welcome, of course, to this circuit here in Speedway, Indiana. We're on 16th Street and Georgetown Road, opened all the way back in 1909. It's one of the oldest circuits the world has ever seen. But there's been a number of major iterations out there on this track. Most notably, the most recent one is the cut through at turns 5 and 6. There used to be a sprawling infield section of looping hairpins around back when the US Grand Prix used to be run here in Formula One circles. But that run along the Holman Boulevard to turn 7, cutting across Shore Drive, and then running into turns 10. You then got that final section, that 90-degree right-hand bend of turn 12, leading to 13, and the long looping turn 14. It's a short lap by comparison to some of the larger circuits we've seen over the course of this run, but so difficult to hook it all up together.
As for the championship, as we mentioned, Mitchell de Jong is locked into the top 3. We said that last week, but now all he needs is 24 points tonight, and that is it. A win, regardless of bonus points, will seal him in the top spot. Xander Reed still vulnerable down to Jaden Munoz and then Manny Troncoso. Technically, mathematically vulnerable to anybody out there. Realistically, I'd say you look at probably about the top 18 with some sort of shot at trying to overtake him. But your top 3, remember, will advance to the regional qualifiers here in Porsche's ladder system. That, of course, is the top 20. We've got a few more beyond that here, Jake, that have scored points.
Yeah, we've got 30 different point scorers. When you consider it's top 15 that score points in races, it shows you just how strong this field has been. You're looking down the names of those who have scored points and have only scored a handful. Aiden Maytaish, I'd expected to score more points. Same for Jordan Johnson, same for Aiden Young. So you're talking drivers who should be up there scoring. Michael Polasek on 1, Dalton Savadil on 3. And drivers like Jordan Eyre, for example, hasn't been able to score those points here. Around 5 of 6, Joe.
Yeah, once again, same format we've been running all season, 40-minute sprint. It is fixed setups in this series, and they don't have any spare car. If they damage it, that is it. You got to deal with it as it is. Rolling starts in this series. Also see live stewards watching out, making sure that you're behaving. And they have a drive-through penalty at 20 incident points. We'll go over that in a bit if necessary. Every 5 beyond that, you have another drive-through. 2 bonus points for pole. As we mentioned, those bonus points at hands with a bonus point for fastest lap as well. But let's take a look at how to get around here fast once again with Aaron Janson.
Hey everyone, this week we're at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course, one of the more historic and iconic tracks we have on the calendar this season. As we head down the front straight, we cross over the iconic Yard of Bricks as we head down to turn 1. In turn 1, we're going to brake close to the 500 board but won't quite get to it, and we're going to hold that peak pressure pretty long as we get down to second gear, avoid this apex curb, and compromise the exit a bit to set up for turns 2 and 3, using all the apex curb in these corners, touching the grass if we need to hook around them. Bit of an awkward braking zone into turn 4 while we're turning, but we're going to be really nice and smooth here, keeping the rears under us, and then turning in hard for turn 5, and then straight lining turn 6 as we fly over the curb to get the best run we can down this long straightaway. Heading down to turn 7, we're going to get close to the 400 board, again down to second gear with a hard brake, and then as we exit here, smooth on the throttle and focus on setting up these S's, turns 8 and 9, wrapping around the back side of them, prioritizing getting the car set up for a great run out of turn 10. And the exit of turn 10 just keeps coming at you, so you have to be really smart here not to dip a tire on exit. Minimize scrub down to turn 12, and we're going to brake late and hard again close to the 300 board. Missing the apex curb again, being really smooth to throttle and setting up again for another transition into turn 13. And then same thing here into turn 14. Really important corner here. It can be flat if you set it up right, but we really need to set up for it. And onto a long straightaway. This track requires being really good at transitions, really patient. That was a lap around Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Huge thank you to Aaron for providing those laps this season. Here's the onboards of all of our drivers going to be taking part in this series as well. So plenty of them all logged in, ready to go. You can see they're all pretty focused at this stage because we have only 3 minutes left before we get to the qualifying session. And Jake, that qualifying session is worthy of some discussion because such a short lap, they have decided to split them into 2 groups to go qualifying. So hopefully that should lessen a little bit of the chaos, but it should be interesting to see who is able to hook up with who, because some of the teams are probably going to be separated.
I think that's a great decision. I think it puts more prowess on the driver to hook up the lap together, because we've seen quite often that whoever you've been surrounded with, we've seen the team game really showing its factor, and it's been all about getting those laps up to speed and then backing off and then finding your team again after you've made your stops and going back again. It's created a carnage where, you know, everyone's trying to find their same spot on track, and so with everyone in and around the same place trying to catch the train, it has led to troubles, especially at Miami. But what it also does is it means which side of the bracket is going to be easier for you, first half or second half, because I turn around and look at this and say, well, Guy Levesque wasn't very happy because he wasn't too pleased that, okay, well, the sun might come out a bit more and the track might be hotter, or there might be some cloud cover and the track might be a bit colder. It might benefit certain drivers out there. I call that racing, but the critical factor I look at is how much rubber is going to be laid down and how useful will that be for the second laps of qualifying, and what are some pretty blue skies with a bit of cloud there on the horizon.
Yeah, that's a good point. Track will be dynamic as well, so that can affect the lap times a little bit. Will it be enough, especially with the lap being so short around here? Worth noting that while the Carrera Cup does do a lone group qualifying, everybody out at once, in Sprint Challenge North America, they do split up the GT3 Cup Series into 2 groups. So that is not unheard of here in Porsche's real-world racing, as we see the last of them down on pit lane, just about ready to go. Now, here's how this will work, though. They will put the odd drivers in practice times in Group 1. Even-numbered drivers from practice times will go into Group 2. So there is nothing here that has been decided by anything other than sort of a snake split, so it is all very fair as to who is where. And if you can game that system, I'll be mighty impressed, Jake. I don't know how you could manage to get your entire team in the exact spots you want.
Well, that, I think, takes a lot of work out there with the practice that we have seen, and we've seen some drivers go out there and elect to do 0 practice, like Manuel Troncoso, for example. So he's only just got his first lap down on the board of the 124.8, but as practice comes to a close, I think it's fair, but you can't stack it 100%, I think, in a way that this field has sort of worked. But what I think they would be looking at here as far as qualifying will go is, if they are looking around at those groups, if they are looking at how they are getting themselves out there for qualifying, it's about saying, look, my teammates are around me and we can still help. If you've got a team like Coanda, for example, and you've got 3 very talented drivers, you're just going to have to hope that you get at least one teammate with you, because it's a case of you're getting at least one or you're going to be stuck on your own. So you're hoping that out there's going to be an opportunity, and I think the best opportunity is going to come from those at Fiercely Forward, because they have a number of drivers in there out to go and qualify with, and I think that is the most important factor here, is that those Fiercely Forward teams are going to be really, really set on making this work for them in this qualifying session.
Very much so. I believe they are letting the drivers know which group they are in, and they should open up the track here shortly. And yep, just hearing now that they are telling them they can line up. So they're about to release this first group of qualifiers as they all emerge into the pit lane. How important, Jake, do you think that the track position will be? How much will the qualifying play a factor? Because this track does have that long front straight we see here, but the rest of it's kind of known for being tough to passing.
Now the question is it tough to pass because it's a low high-speed circuit, or is it tough to pass because the majority of what we see at Indianapolis running is the likes of, say, some very, very fast Indy cars that love to come around here and get their running done 2 weeks before Indy 500 weekend? I think you look at these Porsche Cup cars, I think that they naturally suit a style of driving, and I think a circuit that is what we would call traditional, an open wheel, a more conventional downforce. I would look at these cars, you chuck them through the corners, you use the mechanical grip more than you do that spoiler. I think this is going to be a little bit different in terms of where you go, and I don't think you're going to see as big of a run in terms of straight line. So I think track position, slightly less important than Watkins Glen, slightly less important than where you needed to be at Road America. I think you can be 5th, 6th, 7th in the line and still have an ability to jump up. Of course, everyone's going to want to be in the best place possible, but I think that that need to be at the front is less important than we have seen at previous areas. But Jaden Munoz leads then the Brossard car then into the front with Cade Middleton and Antoine Lecharité, 4th in the championship, directly behind that.
There we see one of the drivers in this group, that green and white number 20, that's Aaron Jalson. He is a real-world Carrera Cup driver that managed to make it into the virtual series here, and he's going to be part of this first group. He's been the one handing us these track guides each and every week, and he is definitely a good guide to have, I can tell you. Not only is he quick here in the virtual series, but he's taken wins and podiums over in the real Carrera Cup, as well as in some of the Endurance Challenge races. But see how he fares here at Indy as we watch Mayo come around that important final corner, and we are seeing a fair bit of that slipstream as pretty much everybody in this first group did not wait. They're all in one long train.
They are, and so they all know how critical it is, this over 90-degree right of turn number 1 as we watch with Mayo. Car very wide, he stays perfect between the lines here for turn 2. It's flat down on this infield section, heading to turn 3. Catches a wiggle though through the middle of the corner there as he almost overcommits down to the inside, and then sets turn 4. Medium gear corner, and now this is where you just got to chuck the car over the curves and really bounce over the turn 6 curve onto Holman Boulevard, and you've got to try and pick your mark over to turn number 7 under the bridge and then into that difficult left-hander. It's a lot tighter than it used to be, but then these sweepers of 8 and 9 set themselves up before you get the right overshore drive into turn number 10, and you're now looking to try and rejoin the banking out of what is Indy turn 2 and then turn number 1 before hitting that final marker. Car slow on the top side. Jaden Munoz is going to need a bit of a hurry up here with Mayo using Charles-Etienne Boucher as a bit of help.
So we've got all these drivers so close together on this first lap. Who's going to have the good enough lap to put it on a provisional pole? So we watch to see those times start to stream in. Less than a minute and a half to get around this place, much shorter than the previous tracks we had been to. Cade Middleton so far looks to be one of the quickest with that 1:25.1, but he has been beat by both Mataj and Alex Johnson, who go 1-2 right now.
Yeah, so very good work then from the number 7 machine. At the back of the pack, it's the fiercely forward drivers who have managed to find the opening salvo out there, and they have done well actually to find their teams out there. So you've got the likes of Daniel Ferguson, Andrew Caron, and the like then of Antoine Lecharité leading. Splitting them is Cade Middleton. A look then down in the bottom right corner at him here, and he's very, very happy right now. A 3rd place I would put in that white backpack there, front right.
By the way, Lecharite only 10th, Campbell only 12th right now. We still have a few drivers, I think, that haven't set a time. Boucher, one of those. So he needs to get a clean one down. But for Campbell and Lecharite, they're the ones sitting directly behind Troncoso in the points battle. They need to be much farther up than this as it stands.
Well, what we've also got to remember is Manuel Troncoso has not been the strongest this season, despite being in third. He has been a little hot and cold at various rounds. He's been a little bit eager. Middleton, a purple final sector, as Lecharite goes fastest on the 24.2. Jordan Eyre hasn't got a single point to his name this season. He's now third, with Aidan Maytage back into second again on a 24.276. There is 15,000 splitting your top three in the first half, and I think they're realizing this is a one-run only qualifying now, when they're used to having the chance to go into pits and go out again. Because they split it, they've only got half the time. They've got to be absolutely all over it, getting these laps in.
About the only consolation, I suppose, that both Lecharite and Campbell have is that Troncoso has a penalty from last week and will have to serve that as a drive-through. So he's probably going to wind up pretty far back. Granted, if we get a yellow after he serves that drive-through, he can't get back into it. That looked like Campbell right there, backing out to try to move towards where we've got these fiercely forward cars. I think he has spotted what they are doing running at the back, and he's figured out their game.
Yeah, well, you're always looking around to find where are the quick drivers out there. Maytage near the back, Jordan Eyre near the back, Alex Johnson near the back. They're second, third and fourth right now in qualifying, and so I think the best thinker, I think, in the entire field is Sean Campbell. He turns around, he goes, I want a piece of that. Alex Johnson goes up to second on a 24.0, and so if you're turning around, you're seeing, well, all the best drivers are doing it from the back of the pack. Well, I turn around, I look at this group out in front and say, well, there's 14 cars that are setting times. That's a 13-car slipstream along the straights.
That's a good way to think of it. And Lecharite, by the way, was already on provisional pole before that most recent lap, but he upped it and is still about 300ths ahead of Alex Johnson. So it is still nip and tuck, but Lecharite did that at the front of the group, mind you. So all this talk about the slipstream, he did that current provisional pole without anybody helping him.
And it goes to show you're not going to get bump drafts or anything like that, because iRacing's qualifying system, if you get anything, a 1x, a 2x, a 4x, even a 0x on a qualifying lap, it marks the lap as invalid and you have to go around again to set. So I think it's really critical as Maytage, purple in sector 1, purple in sector 2. This is looking like a really, really good lap time here as we take a look at Aiden pushing to the line. Ferguson up to 8th position. Jaden Munoz fastest by 4,000. And Aidan Maytage on a 23.897 is 7,000ths clear of Sean Campbell. What a time.
Here I was saying they need to get the hurry up, and, well, they got the message. So now up at the front for Aiden and Sean as we watch the 84 come around the very tricky turn 4. This is Jaden Munoz, who gets slotted back down to 4th after he was briefly up at the top. You can see them going over that curb on the chicane. They are allowed to do that, but much farther than that, they can get a slowdown penalty. That's about the only curb that we heard Aaron Janson say that you want to touch out here. All the rest of them, he was saying, stay away from those apex curbs.
And further to that, as I take a look down at who's qualifying and note who's in the second group, Joe, all 3 Coanda cars are in the second group.
Interesting. And part of me wonders, because I know they often won't really show their hand in practice until very late. I wonder if they all just set kind of laps that were well towards the back intentionally to try and clump themselves together as a way to get around that. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and check and see where they wound up, because I wonder if there's some shenanigans going on.
Well, Joe, I turn around and look at anything in racing, and I believe the quote is, every time you look at rules or regulations, read it once to understand what they are. You read it a second time to see how you can break it. Right now, if I ever wanted to look around and say, how do I keep myself in with a great racing series, I just take a rule set, go to the drivers and say, find me a few loopholes in it, and then you try and patch it up. You can never patch up loopholes, because if you're not trying to find a loophole in racing, you're not trying hard enough.
But they were given the 1 minute warning, so at about 13 minutes left on the clock, they are going to get the checkered flag. Right now it is still Mataj, who is your fastest car by 7 thousandths over Sean Campbell, with Alex Johnson trying to get onto that front row. Somebody actually diving off into the grass to get out of everybody's way for a brief moment. La Charité has been pushed back to 5th position here in this WSR Esports number 21. They'll come around through turn 10 into 11. He'll need a good exit here. And actually, no, he won't be able to start a new lap. Will anybody actually be able to? No, they're all going to get the checkered flag here. This is it.
Yeah, so this is where the laps will count. Luke Wallace is going to be first one to the line then, as they all look for that cross, and he's stuck on a 124.3. So who's jumped up and found a little bit more out there? Jordan Ayres tried to find something and it hasn't quite worked out, but Aidan Mataj has got it covered at the moment. And as the next group waits at the end of pit lane, Ferguson, late there in the number 16, jumps up to 8th position, but critically, they just crested over the peak of what is good on the tyre life.
So Aiden on provisional pole. This will all be added into the group that you see currently, so you don't have to do any sort of math to figure this out. Will all be placed into proper order. Sean Campbell on the front row with him. Do we have any real surprises? I'm trying to see in and amongst there. Cade Middleton all the way down in 11th. He'll have a bit of a rough time. Jordan Ayre currently sitting in 6th. Hopefully he can stay up within those first 3 rows, because I do think he is one of our quicker drivers, but he's probably going to lose a couple positions as it is once we get these other cars rolling.
Yeah, and so this is where you're trying to play the card out there. It's worth noting here, at the end of this first part of qualifying, the track temperature is 37 degrees Celsius out there. It is a very hot one in terms of where they look, and getting to that hotter side, you're looking to build the track. In sim time, it's about 20 past 2 in the afternoon. So they've reached over the top of where we expect the hottest of the conditions. If anything, a degree of temperature is what being second in the groups will give you that slight advantage.
99 Fahrenheit for the non-metric folks out there. So yeah, that's getting up to the warmer side on the track surface temperature. And yeah, they are all lined up, just waiting for the command here from race control for Group B. They've already told them they're allowed to line up at the end of this for staging, and they'll be released. And well, we already saw everyone's still trying to use this one long line, but I am pretty sure that those who were watching that first group, Jake, saw that many of the fast drivers quickly put themselves at the very back of the line. So I suspect that some of these drivers at the front of the line, especially that one Coanda car we see up there at the front, will probably hover a little bit. That's Xander Reed there currently on the front.
Yeah, Xander wants to lead by example, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the question will be, who will run around with? Because I look at Christian Muniz and Danish Hassan. Those two are teammates who will go together. Gregory Hobson and Guy Levesque have gone out exactly at the same time. They're going to be together, but it is a lot more of the individuals out there who are proving that they're going to be out there. Like Manu Troncoso, he's got no help at Drago for the running that he will run over this. Savadil, only one without his teammates. Aidan Pohl is currently out there in the Kaizen Esports machine too. So there are going to be drivers here who look at this session and go, well, there's going to be a bit less of that team game here in this second session, because there is legitimately not enough drivers, and this is basically a case of everyone who has run a solo or a 2-car team effort out there trying to go, and there is some initial early, let's get a bit of slipstream. And look at those Coanda cars. Two have coalesced together right now. They are just waiting for Michael Gianni to hold on to the line, but breaking away off the front, Christian Muniz, he's going out at a rate of knots, trying to break away and say, I'll do my own thing.
He really is. That 4 is our only lone car. Spare a thought for Dalton Zavadil, the only of the, I believe the only of the fiercely forward cars that we have in this group. And somebody else is heading into pit lane. Who is this?
Muniz.
Oh, interesting. Wonder if he has a black flag.
Speeding.
Okay. Yeah, it must have been that or some sort of cut course penalty that he didn't serve well enough. That's a bit bizarre, but that is less than ideal because he also now will likely be kind of on his lonesome. And the reason he didn't come or just simply take a tow to pit lane is because that resets your fuel, and these drivers want to burn off as much fuel as they can.
I think what he'll have to do now here, Joe, is stay in pits for an entire lap, get himself out just in front of the group to warm the tyres up. He will have perfect tyres at the end of this qualifying session, but he is going to be reliant on the tow as they push through. Levesque chucking it over the curb. You see how the car pivots up into the air, bounces back down, still looking for tyre life though, and getting some energy into the carcass at the moment. So they want that tyre temperature. They want to be in a position where it's going to work the best that it can, and it is a process. It takes a couple laps, and so Guy Levesque, who has been around it for so long, knows how to play this game. Aidan Pohl is in the best position possible. He's on the back of the Coanda drivers, but will also know out there that he comes from a different world than what we see from those Coanda Esports drivers. Aidan Pohl is one fantastic YouTube content creator.
Color me surprised that our Coanda cars are currently 1, 2, 3 in line. Again, I expected them to kind of do what we saw from Fiercely Forward, which was try to go to the back of the pack and pull a nice big slipstream off the tail of the train. But they're going to try and push the air. Granted, of course, their teammates, second and third in line, Reed and Janney, will get a little bit better tow than De Jong. But we can't read too much into this first lap since we did see so many cars weaving around. Wonder if this will really be our first big push lap.
I'd also pay a little bit of it to Aidan Young, who is the only one of the World Sim Racing crew that are not in the first part of qualifying as well. Pole, we take a look with at the moment in currently 18th position. Now, all these times, you look down, Xander Reed, 1.1 seconds off the pace. It's not a representative time. They're building up towards that lap. I'd expect to see about half a second lopped off here of this next lap that comes through, and then from that point onwards, Joe, I'm expecting around 2 to a quarter of a second taken off, then 2/10 to a quarter of a second with each and every lap. I think it will come down to the last lap attempts then that go through to see who is going to be on top and who is not.
Watch that time in the upper left, 1:23.897. That is your current pole position, held by Aiden Matage. But we get ready to see some new times on the board, where it's going to place them. Xander Reed immediately up to 4th on the first of the flying laps here. So that's a very good sign for those in that Coanda team. They're working together, seems to be effective.
And when you've got the draft of the driver who has won the opening 4 rounds of the championship, you would say job well done. With that attempt, Mitchell de Jong only 11th there, maybe a slight grimace of the teeth as he works through 5 and 6. You can see the stare of a racing driver there. He is absolutely showing what he is all about as he looks to hop on forward and say, look, I am looking to try and run this the best that I can. You can see the way that he throws the car in and the amount of work that even a sim racing driver will have to do. He's got that racing background, and look at how built Mitchell de Jong is. He's made for racing race cars.
He really is, and he's both good, like you said, at real racing as well as racing here on the sim. So the highest from that first group was Reed, or this second group is Reed currently. It looks like behind him you have to go back down to Ross O'Connor in the 74. in ninth position. But we let some more of our times come across the line. And Reed does improve, only up to third, so he gets one spot. That's not top quite yet. Mitchell de Jong moves up into eighth. He hasn't always been the top qualifier. He tends to, honestly, just take his leads on the first lap.
He does, and I think that you look around and say, well, what is Mitchell de Jong very good at? He has the understanding of the way that a race opens up, and he gets a good chance. Now Zander Reed will pull on forward to the lead, so there comes the opportunity again, looking to put a bit of temperature into the tyre, and understanding then from Zander Reed, I'm not going to go for it here at this point. I'm going to sit in line. Michael Janney up to second and in the train, and Mitchell de Jong to the back, so he gets the double toe to go and work with. And back there is Christian Muniz, who will now be looking to set his first flying lap out there. 20.9 in the first sector. He'll be looking around for his sector 2, hoping that it's going to be good. And we've seen the likes of people using Formula-style wheels there. That's a little bit of a hybrid there. You can see that lovely rounded steering wheel being used, what we would call a lot more of a traditional style steering wheel for Christian Muniz, who again backs out of it between himself and Danish Hassan at the back.
So Reed in third, de Jong in eighth, Janney in 10th. All the top three in this group right now are Coanda cars. Oh, but no more. Ross O'Connor moves himself up into third ahead of Zander Reed, and Dalton Zavadil finds himself in 24th. So despite having no teammates around, the fiercely forward driver has found some speed.
Well, good, very good work there from the Impulse car to move on up. Zavadil up in 6th position will be great news then for Fiercely Forward, as that's another absolute clattering of the curbs to go and put it all together. He's on the back then of Aidan Paul, who's on the back of Mitchell de Jong. You can see he tips in, and look at that. You need a MotoGP lean angle to go through the way that Dalton tries to coerce the car in through the corners there, and you get various different drivers with various different styles. A minute 50 on the clock. These, I think, are going to be the money laps.
I think you're right on that point. Let's watch and see. Still all Coanda 1, 2, 3 up at the lead of this group, but certainly no longer locking down the top positions. It is still Aiden Mataj, who is our fastest of both groups, has not been able to be touched. In fact, the front row hasn't changed since this second group. I think Zavadil touched the wall. He knows it. He is backing out of it, it looks like, and pulling off, knowing that this lap is done. But this means also this second lap won't mean anything, and he won't have enough time to get around. Ross O'Connor, still our quickest from this group, but still only third.
Yeah, and Cade Middleton has been assessed a 5-second penalty for qualifying infringement, so he's going to have that served over the course of the race. Janney only 14th. De Jong is only up to 5th. Hoverson only up to 6th. But get this, top 12 are split by less than 0.2 of a second. You want to say that qualifying gets close? This is as close as it gets. Michael Janney has seen it all. He's done it all in this sim racing world, and he knows that he's got to try and live up and get right up to the pointy end as he looks to figure out where he's about. He is a driver who can go out there and be on the level of his two teammates, Zander Reed and Mitchell de Jong. It's not quite worked for him out there, but he needs this lap, and that yellow second sector, I think, is a glaring omission at the moment for what he's hoping to get out of this qualifying. He might be scrapping for the minor points today.
Not sure if you mentioned it as you were talking about the penalties, but Janson also has a 5-second penalty for a qualifying infringement. Will cross the line. Checkered flag is now out. And Mitchell de Jong does it again and goes up to pole ahead of Mataj by 0.03 of a second. So he's now joining him on the front row. Campbell pushed down to third. Not seeing a whole lot of changes behind them. Dragata moves up into 30th over George Griffiths, a little bit farther down, but it is not looking good for those that are hoping to beat Mitchell de Jong to the top spot of the podium one of these races.
Well, I think every driver right now just took a look at that over the line, stared at that number 48 that went through into pole position, and gave the eyes of, really? You're on top again? Can you please start sharing the sandpit? Mitchell de Jong turns around, looks at them, Joe, here at 16th Street and Georgetown Road, and goes and says, get your own sandpit.
He is the king of this series so far. For those that this is your first time tuning in, Mitchell has won all 4 of our previous races this season. He's got a perfect record on first. Now, he doesn't have a perfect score because he hasn't taken pole and the bonus points for fastest lap in every race so far. But as far as finishing in front, nobody has managed to overtake him to the finish lines. The clock just is going to run out here, and then we'll get our official grid in just a moment. Let me check and see if we got any more penalties from this second group, and I'm not seeing anything showing up quite yet from race control. So hopefully that means everybody else was clean. Interesting qualifying compared to the ones before that we had everybody in the one group. Definitely a different dynamic.
It was, and for those who are worrying about how the dynamic was going to go, I look around between first group and second group, Joe, as far as the grid will stack. In the top 10, there were 5 drivers who were in Group 1 and 5 drivers who were in Group 2.
Good catch on that one. It looks like they have now got everybody gridding up, so we should be good to give you our starting grid, a full pace lap as usual here around Indianapolis. And it is going to be everybody aiming for that number 48 to try and beat him once again, except this time he has nobody to try and pass down into turn 1. And there you have it, Mitchell de Jong, your pole sitter. He gets bonus points right there, as Aiden Mataj will be starting in second next to him. Then in third, it is going to be Sean Campbell with a good starting spot to try and get himself in those top 3 for the end of the season. Fourth will be Ross O'Connor. After that, Xander Reed, who did not finish second last time, going to be starting back in 5th. He'll be flanked by Gregory Hovison in that 6th spot. It's Alex Johnson starting from 7th, with Dalton Zavadil, his teammate, right next to him in P8. Jaden Munoz starts from 9th as Antoine Lacharité, another hopeful for the top 3, rounds out your top 10, Jake.
Yeah, Jordan Eyre, good qualifying from him. He's looking for first points of the season. He's 11th with Michael Janney in 12th, and 13 is a lucky number for some. It's going to hope to be lucky for Andrew Caron and Guy Levesque, 2 Canadians on row 7, as 15th will belong to Aidan Pohl, a very good qualifying for him, and Kevin Desnoyer there for Solpec Precision Racing in 16th position. Row 9 will see Daniel Ferguson and Christian Moniz there making up that place as your top 20 gets topped and tailed by Danish Hassan and Jean-Edouard Maillot on a 124.3.
21st is going to be Aaron Jassal, but remember, he's got a 5-second penalty already. Cade Middleton also will, so they're on the same row, interestingly, both getting qualifying penalties. Charles-Etienne Boucher will be 23rd, with Paul Darling next to him in 24th. After that, it is Anthony Landry starting 25th. He's got Aiden Young in the 26th spot. Row 14 has Luke Wallace starting 27th, and Floyd Kerr will be in 28th. Then in row 15, 29th goes to Nathan Olson, with Leonardo Dragata starting in 30th. Just a couple more cars will wrap this one out. George Griffiths in 31st, and Manny Troncoso 32nd. Justin Rame 33rd, and final cars. We are missing a few this weekend, or this week rather, unfortunately, but it should still be a fun race out there. Hopefully, Jake, one that makes it through the first corner without a caution flag coming out, because this place is notorious for the road course turn 1 causing problems.
Well, let's understand why, shall we? Because you've got a race surface that can go 5 wide in these Porsche 992.2s as you run down in, and you're funneling them into a corner that goes to 3 wide and then 2 wide, through the next section through 1 and 2. It feels very street circuit-ish, and so you're asking that late apex entry to get through the corner. What does a late apex often find, Joe, out there on racing circuits? The ability for people to say, look, I can hit the brakes 2 meters later than the car in front of me, sail down the inside and say, apex is mine, I demand the corner. Doesn't work like that in racing all the time. That's a very surefire way to get yourself into an incident. And so if you do find yourself going into turn 1 with that big high curb on the inside, I would expect a lot of drama to befall, and especially in turn 2, because we've seen cars roll through turn 2 and they've been caught up on the wrong side of it.
And they don't want to get in trouble on that first lap this time because, well, we got another penalty, car 43 now. So he has also impeded somebody during qualifying and will get that 5-second penalty. But lap 1, any incidents are now going to be determined to be major incidents. So the penalties will be harsher, usually, I believe, drive-throughs. So if they are handed out during the race, obviously that will set you well far back unless we get a caution flag compressing the field. And if they aren't, you have a huge time penalty coming your way.
And you don't want to be dealing with time penalties, and often you find if you want to go and get yourself a position in the top 3, if you want to go and win championships, the best drivers in the world are very seldom found at race control, and so that does set you apart from everything else. And I'll tell you what will be interesting right now, seeing some names that we maybe haven't seen so far up nearer the front end, the likes of Maytaish, the likes of Ross O'Connor. I'm really interested to see what they deal with, and as well, the fact that Antoine Le Charité is down in 10th, and his closest competitor, Sean Campbell, is there in 3rd position. So Sean right now has given himself a really good qualifying in the gridandgo.com car, staring at the back of his former team of Coanda.
Yeah, for Aiden, he's currently a little bit far down the points, tied for 23rd on only 5 scored points so far. So this could be a huge boon for him to keep him in the hunt to get into those top 3. Remember, that's the goal for most of the drivers. They're looking to try and get an automatic advancement up into the regional qualifiers here for the Porsche Esports Super Cup. Pace car is now in. Mitchell has control of the field, but he cannot go until the green, so we must wait. We'll see if we get a very even start like what we had last week at Road America, as nobody really seemed to get a big jump in the front of the group, but that may have caused some of the stack up that we saw into turn 1 as drivers were still so close together. As we get to wait a little bit, since it is a ways to that yard of bricks. And there it is. Green flag is out. And yeah, look at this. One of the commando cars, Xander Reed, with a huge jump, making it 3 wide coming down into turn 1. In fact, he's going to look past that second spot. He's looking potentially maybe for first on his teammate as they hit the brakes. Look at them fan out 4 wide in the middle of the pack. I'll be amazed if we get through this without incident. And somehow we do, at least for turn 1. Now what about the rest?
Wow, it's 2 or 3, and there's going to be 1 car pivoted at the back. It's George Griffiths who's having to go through the gravel, but this is going to be the big setup. 2 wide as you go through the lefts and rights here on through Holman Boulevard. There's going to be 1 car going the wrong way. It's Johnson. Bang, he's in the barriers then on the left-hand side, out of shot there. You can see just peeking back through. The Charité here in 9th position, battling with Dalton Zavadil as he commands it then at turn 7. Everybody realizes they are in a position where it's rush hour to get out of Speedway, Indiana.
And critically, nobody got a slowdown penalty on that first chicane. That's another thing that you got to watch out for in turn 6. Didn't see any of those crop up as I was watching the timing. Meanwhile, coming around down to the braking of turn 11. Sometimes you can get some sneak attacks in there. Everybody's so close that we're seeing a ton of 2 wide.
There's a lot of it. Andrew Caron here down in the pack. He finds himself looking to try and get position. They're still shuffling. They're still trying to sort out, where am I going to get that position? And here's the issue. You get onto the main straight. You're Andrew Caron. You're looking around Kevin Desnoyers and the likes of Cade Middleton. Middleton just has to fall into line here. There's nothing he can do except They now cross the beams. They now start lunging against each other. They can't afford to lose the car in front. Slipstream, so important in this style of car, this Cup car. It is so well built to just punch a hole through the air. The difference between with or without is an absolute light year, and so you're hoping to try and jump forward and say, can I stay with it? And speaking of which, Jaden Munoz is the wrong side of the break at the moment. 7 clear at the front as we focus with pole in 20th.
Got a replay on what happened to Aaron coming through turns 5 and 6 on that first lap. And you've got a better look at this than I did, Jake. Tell us what went down here.
Well, look, he's trying to shoot the gap down on the inside. He collides with, I believe, Boucher going through. And ultimately, when you're loading the car up through that section, it's so easy for one car to basically just take all the load, like what you see out there on a CEO's office. They've got the 5 balls there, and he pings it, and it goes left, right, left, right, left, right. It's like one of those cradles that you just sit down and you say, look, there's nothing I can do except hit myself in trouble. Sean Campbell out there, very animated on the radio to his team that's working from at Grid and Go.
And poor Luke Wallace, he was on the wrong side of the track compared to Manny Troncoso, who is serving his penalty now, and kind of pushed him into the pit entry for a brief moment. So Luke has lost touch with the group. Here we are, as you said, with Sean Campbell outside the podium. That's Aiden Matage. And bad news for those that were hoping to break up some of the Coanda death grip. Well, it's DeYoung and Reed, 1-2.
Well, as far as I'm concerned for this all season, Joe, with the rounds I've been here with the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup North America, business as usual.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it, frankly. But everybody's trying to shake that up. They want to see the change up there. They got a little bit of it back at Road America, but there is a lot more slipstream opportunities at that track. You pretty much only have that one long straight here to do that. Maybe the backstretch if you get a good run. Jordan Eyre off to the side. He's in a little bit of a side-by-side battle, though. This is with Daniel Ferguson. Oh, but down to the inside, Aiden Young's going to try and attack him into 11, but he backs out of it.
I wonder whether he got a slowdown penalty cutting through the chicane through 8 and 9, so that's dropped him back out of the points. And Jordan, who has done well here in qualifying, he is now -7 for the day so far. This is Leonardo Dragotta, though, running into trouble. As you can see, he's wide as he moves on through, and then he just gets absolutely mown over going through turn 10. If you leave a door open, everyone is going to jump through for it, and when the pack just started to just get a little bit untidy there, that's as simple as you get quarter panel on the car behind is always going to get dinged for it.
Yeah, I mean, from that angle, it didn't look like Leo's fault. The stewards will probably have their own look at it to try and determine what they feel happened, if there was anybody worthy of a penalty. Not seeing anybody able to get away from one another at this front group. It sounds like we do have a replay of Troncoso's sort of unusual incident trying to enter into pit lane. Remember, he was given his black flag, and the 27 did not get the memo.
No, and I think if you Luke Wallace, you're going to have to be a little bit more heads up than that. If Manu Troncoso wants to come in and pit, my first question is, what's he doing on the inside first and foremost? And secondly, you know, this is one of the most difficult pit lanes to basically find yourself in, because you normally have a braking point for turn 13 that says, okay, this is a normal brake point. But if you want to go into the pits, you've got to brake on the racing line, maybe 15 meters later than what you normally do. So it does entice incidents like that, as here comes La Charité straight to the inside, charging down the inside of Jaden Munoz, who looks to double cut back. He nits one to pearl one, and I'm sure that the sweater, in terms of the move, was trying to be good. Unfortunately, sweater's too ugly for Jaden Munoz. He can't get the pass.
So the good news for La Charité is the driver he's chasing in the points is now down in 32nd. But the bad news is Jaden Munoz is breathing down his neck. Antoine will hold him back down into the braking of turn 7 this time, but he wants to move as many positions up as possible. The 21 needs maximum points here.
Joe, I'd turn around. I'd say he's not worried about Manu Troncoso. He knows he's mired down in the pack. I'd say the job today for Antoine de Charité is pin Sean Campbell back in points. You don't want to let as many rivals as you can get into it. Here comes Guy Levesque, though, straight to the inside, and the Falcon Sim Racing car creates contact with the Burrison of Jaden Munoz, and suddenly Michael Janney is trying to open up the steering, and he was trying to cross up and under. He's not going to get it. Car 97 is going to pick up some penalty. That's Danish Hassan that we saw the incident with Leonardo Dragotta, but ultimately there, Guy Levesque doing well, and Michael Janney was thinking heads up, but planted on the apex was Jaden Munoz, so the up and under wasn't there.
I think drivers are going to have to get a little bit sneaky. There are so many left, right, S's sections throughout this lap, so we'll see those overcuts and undercuts kind of switch back and forth as to who has the advantage, Jake. And I've seen some battles carry on for quite a ways.
This is one of those circuits where it's a thinking driver's circuit. You can plan out a move 3, 4, 5, 6 corners in advance if you want to try and get this pass. And here comes Michael Janney then thinking about it. Outside it will have to be. Behind comes the lunge though, as here comes Christian Muniz, who will look to try and get 12th here and get an extra point over Dalton Zavadil. Does so around the outside of the chicane. Lovely stuff. Kevin Desnoyers also thinking about how he jumps in and goes from 2 championship points today to 3.
Yeah, remember, it's only those top 15 that will score in each race. Watching those 2 points with Kevin, hoping to maybe get by Zavadil as they come around turn 13 and up to 14 now. And then trying to accelerate their way up along the main straight. Fastest part of the track down to perhaps the heaviest braking zone. Xander Reed looking to the inside, battle for the lead. We haven't seen this all race long. He is going to be able to sneak through. Mitchell a little bit vulnerable to Aiden, but it looks like the 84 unable to pick up on it.
Now it's time to sit back, because remember, if you're at the front of this field, you're doing one thing worse than everybody else who is behind you, Joe. You are not saving fuel and tyre. You can be a lot more pedestrian if you're back there second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or even seventh out there in the group. You just know that there is a patience factor, and these Coanda drivers know that if they're getting close enough behind, they are going to have to offer overtakes on each other to keep Maytage, to keep Campbell at bay. So this is where it's all going to sit. We are just getting word here that if Mitchell de Jong wants this championship the way that it is going to sit out, he's probably going to need about a P6, Joe, today. And this one doesn't need Joe Buck to say, we'll see you on Wednesday. This will be, it is absolutely mine, locked in under a fine-tooth comb, as number 62 will now pick up a penalty out there for responsibility. That is Manu Troncoso there, and it just gets worse.
Wow. And I think that was for the shove that he had. Interesting. So they have deemed him at fault instead of Wallace for the incident going into pit lane. Troncoso once again at odds with the stewards. De Jong still sits in second, having been overtaken by his teammate Danish Hassan, though. Look at this side-by-side action coming down into turn 1. This is outside the points, but it's also being led by Hassan as Boucher, Darling, and Landry all try to overtake him.
Yeah, they're all there, and this is what we've been seeing from these drivers all season long. They've loved their battle, even though they have been down in the pack. Michael Janney eyeing up a top 10 position here, but Jaden Munoz, the sort of driver who never really gives up on it. He's very, very quick when he sets his mind to, but I wouldn't call him the traditional Porsche Cup driver out there. I don't think it's his strongest strength. Slow down there, though, for Michael Janney to serve. That will put him back in the clutches of Christian Muniz, who will now have a shot to get to 11th, but Janney has served it quick enough by the time he's got into turn number 12. But look at the run by Muniz. Still more to serve then for Michael Janney as he drops a place and now potentially leaves himself vulnerable to Dalton Zavadil, looking for a huge run out of 14 here.
Yeah, you're right. It looks like Janney is having a bit of a rough one. He's scored 0 every other race so far. Down to the inside, the 33 of Hoveson is going to take 6th place off Alex Johnson. In the meantime, LaCharité now at the tail of the top group as we're getting a few splits amongst the field of cars that at one point was all together in one.
Just got correction in over from Race Control. We expect it's P2 to go and win the championship. So Race Control Matt and commentator Matt obviously run on the same spreadsheet. But for the moment, Mitchell de Jong in that 2nd place. This is perfect limitation out there. You talk about control the controllables out there in the race. Yes, he's not leading out there, Joe, but critically, in terms of where he sits, it's only his teammate in front. Aiden Natish isn't offering anything of an overtake. This is chill for Mitchell de Jong, believe it or not, despite this being a group of 4, almost 8 or 9 with LaCharité on the back, to say, look, this could be a huge moment.
Yeah, when you get to the penultimate round, everybody starts really counting those points, figuring out, okay, what is the opportunities? What is the equation to get me where I need to be? Are there risks I don't need to take so that I don't throw it away? And I'm sure Mitchell de Jong probably thinking of that with that 2nd place. Probably wouldn't be too disappointed to hand over a win to Xander Reed, but I also don't think he's going to make it easy on him. In the meantime, I do believe it looks like Aaron Janson has managed to step outside of the virtual cockpit and join us. Let's see if we can pull him in to the booth, which he has done with me actually in real life racing a couple times, and joined us for the sprint challenge as well as the endurance challenge. Aaron, commiserations that you're out this early, but it looks like a lot of the drivers have been taking your advice on that lap guide. Some fast guys out there.
I don't know if it was my advice, but I'd like to think so. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's unfortunate to be out so early, and kind of a weird incident. I mean, the contact was super minor going into the S's there, and I thought, both of us could go through there, but I guess not.
Sometimes these things happen. It's such a fast chicane, doesn't really slow the cars down. But we're seeing this fascinating battle up front between Reed and de Jong. Do you think they're making themselves a bit vulnerable, swapping back and forth to guys like Campbell or Matage?
I think so. I mean, these guys are the best in the business, so I think they'll have it under control. But it's cool to see Reed, leading and see what he can do with it when we get a little bit closer to the end here.
One thing I also want to talk about, because we never really have gotten an opportunity this season, even though I think I've mentioned it on air, is you've got the special Kelly Moss livery that you're running in the real world out there. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the charity you're running?
Yeah, I know. It's so awesome to have it made for for esports, the Racing for Children's livery. I'm running it in the actual, real life Porsche Carrera Cup North America series. Every handprint that you see on the car is from a child at the Children of Alabama Hospital that's, either currently or has dealt with cancer or blood disorders. So the charity, exists to raise money and awareness for them and help find a cure and help, cover costs and other things that they need. So it's been an iconic livery in the series in North America for many years now, and I'm really proud to be one of the drivers that's able to go and carry that livery out there.
And you guys also are sharing a different weekend with IndyCar coming up, Long Beach here soon. Are you looking forward to that? How's the prep going?
Oh, it's going awesome. iRacing officials have been at Long Beach since Monday, so I've been hitting it hard and prep for this weekend. I actually did put some practice in for this event as well, though. I ran with the Coenda guys a bit, Xander and Mitchell, and like I said, those guys are the best, so it's been cool trying to keep up with them and learn from them. I wish I could have shown a little bit more of what I learned on track today, but the Long Beach prep is going great, so I'm really excited to head down there tonight, actually, and get ready to go race this weekend.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time to come join us in the booth. And again, I wish it was in better circumstances, but best of luck out there in California.
Yeah, I didn't want to join you guys till after the race, but it's okay. I'll be rooting my friends on and hope they get a 1, 2, 3. I hope Michael gets up there as well. So now this is so awesome and so competitive, and can't thank everybody enough for putting this on. It's pretty cool.
You're welcome to hang out as long as you want, but understand if you need some rest as we see another change for the lead. Reed versus de Jong. Reed will stay in front for now, Jake. Again, they're not holding back, these two.
No, and I look at that remove from Mitchell de Jong along Holman Boulevard. You just look to try and pick up advantage, and really it was just a case of catching the curb wrong there from Zander Reed, which opened up the half chance. But because there's defensive prowess between them, it's a case of, well, what do you do? There's the defense there. It's now brought the groups back together in terms of the 8 that are out there at front. And this is where Zander Reed turns around and goes, yeah, there's absolutely no team orders here, but this is big brother versus little brother right now. Mitchell de Jong is big brother. He's won 4 races out of 4. Zander Reed has been second on 3 occasions this season. He turns around. He wants to do everything he possibly can to stop big brother from winning another one.
And he's got to know that Mitchell only needs this second place. They've probably gone over the equations themselves to figure out what needs to be done. So he could play, I think, a little bit extra defensive, be aggressive, and know that Mitchell will not want to throw away what will be a sealed top spot.
Yeah, but Joe, you're forgetting the most important fact. Mitchell de Jong is a racing driver, and all racing drivers, no matter if P2 gets you what you want, as behind them, Le Charité through on Alex Johnson then and up into 7th position, you've got to remember, Mitchell de Jong is a racing driver. He wants to win every race he starts.
Exactly. And if you're wondering, they just need the top 3, right? Well, what's on board for winning the championship other than pride? Well, you get a full race weekend at a real Carrera Cup race after, of course, the season is over. So any of the races here in 2026, you actually even get some of your flight comps, the winner. So you get to go experience the hospitality center that the real drivers get to go to. You get to go into the paddock and meet them. So this should be a big deal for whoever winds up winning this to get to go and experience the real Carrera Cup here in North America. Right now, this top group that we were watching still goes back to about Alex Johnson now in 8th as we come back to the next group being led by Jaden Munoz, although they're starting to split up as well into kind of 2 groups here. This is Dalton Zavadil that is currently trying to be caught by Kevin DeNoyer, who we see in 13th.
Yeah, and this is a group that goes back to 16th place, and Jordan Eyre, who's there. There is Kevin DeNoyer out there with the Times fan there in the background, but staying calm at the moment in the upright seated position, just looking about this one, realising, yeah, I'm in the middle of this group. I don't have to be too worried about it. I'll get a couple points from my worries at the moment, but he'll be realising if I don't fight, or even if I just bump draft my way forward, we'd like to catch Gianni, Levesque and Munoz. Those are 3 drivers out there that you turn around and go, if they are in your race, you know you're in a world-class caliber of field. And Dalton Zavadil holding his ground against DeNoyer, who has a little bit of a search then through to turn 13. This used to be the bike layout out there before they repurposed this for racing out there in all forms.
Yeah, it slowed down that final corner, which some of us are a little sad about, but I understand from safety perspective. Them doing so is once again we go side by side. Zander Reed on the outside of the first apex, but it switches back to the inside of turn number 2. Mitchell again leaves the door open a little bit. Aiden thinks about it, but then realizes turn 4 is a huge risk. And this backs up that pack behind them tremendously. It was already tight in there. Everybody is nose to tail.
Joe, do you note the contact that those 2 Coanda Porsches had at turn number 1? They are really scrapping for it. Zander Reed sees it to the outside. There's a lunge behind as well. Then by Hoverson, trying to get by Ryan O'Connor. Not going to find that way to go through. They have realised here that over the halfway stage of this race, right, we've done the business card selection of saying this is who we are and this is how we're going to go. They are now going to race for it, and Mitchell de Jong is tired of sitting in second place. He is done with Zander Reed being at the front, and he is now going to start hunting for opportunities to make the move. No real change in terms of the way that Mitchell is looking at the moment. He's still the same old Mitchell de Jong that's out there and driving, but if they're not careful, they'll open up, mate Tyche. They'll open up Sean Campbell for an opportunity, and my would they want a sniff. Middle of the road, Mitchell all the way across trying to get this pass sorted, lunges down on the brakes, and again he tries to push him out. Maytage to the outside, Zadarine Holes. Look at Sean Campbell, ever the opportunist. Oh no!
And the Coanda cars come together. Campbell has to go all the way off track to try and avoid it. Sean Campbell, Matage are going to try and pick up the pieces, and it's going to be Aiden who comes out in the lead just barely. The fight is not over. Xander Reed is able to get going. Mitchell DeJong is able to get going, but look at this. We are 3 wide for the lead. Hovison now sticks his nose in. He goes round the outside as we go 3 wide into turn 7, and somehow we get out the other side. Meanwhile, as they switch around through the S's, Aiden will hold on to the top spot. Ross O'Connor settles into second, and Greg puts himself into third. That all erupted in a heartbeat out there.
And it goes to show you now, I would love to be a fly on the wall at the Coanda team meeting. After this race, I'm sure that the entire group will turn around, look at it and go, that was not meant to happen, and we fought far too hard for it, and we were looking perfect, looking for a 4th 1-2 of the season, and now I wonder how aggressive this front pack's going to be for 17 minutes, because if they play ball, it will work. But there's a big lift-off on the straight from Gregory Hovison. There goes Campbell up into third again. O'Connor is second, but Aiden Maytage leading your field right now, and he will know he is in uncharted water, but the big threat will still be that car in 7th of Mitchell DeJong, and he is going to be like a raging bull in Pamplona.
Everybody will be so hungry here. Here is what caused all this. A side-by-side duel. There's the contact. Very light, I must say, initially. But then what about here? I didn't see how hard it was between the pair of them. I almost think he got a little loose, the 77. I think he started to spin a bit before the contact.
I think there was an element of it. He's very lucky he hasn't tipped that over in the gravel there. That dug in on the left-hand side tyres and put a lot of trouble into it. Oh, Denisha San, there's 2 cars round.
Trying to see who that is with him. And I think that was Boucher. Yeah, that was Charles Etienne, who falls down to 29th. There you see the Canadian getting it going. The ASN car, unfortunately, showing maybe just a little damage on the nose after that. Now, Mitchell DeJong is still in 7th. We have 15 minutes left, and he is about 2 seconds off the lead. Yes, there are a lot of cars between himself and first place, but from what we've seen, I would not count him out yet.
Well, no, because there will come a time where everyone looks at everybody else and decides we're going to start throwing for moves. And so I think that's going to be where Mitchell DeJong just needs the level head and will look to try and find a way through. But this is a case of what happened there for Charles-Etienne Boucher as he looked then at Denis Hassan. So he hits the brakes, he goes into turn 7, and Hassan has already seen the contact then with Jean-Edouard Maillot, and then basically Maillot says to his teammate, yeah, look, nowhere to go, buddy, so sorry about that, but throw the fans out there, and a little bit of fanning the flames there. Sean Campbell having a little look at Ross O'Connor and not quite finding it.
We are beyond the full course yellow window, so it is green from here on out. That means this is the first race we will go fully green in this series. Great job to the drivers, and at one of the shortest courses that we run at. So a bit of an interesting twist on that one. In the meantime, we've seen Campbell starting to look a little bit interested in this second place. While I'm sure he does want the win, like I said, we've still got some powerful players behind them, including our former race leader. They have to be careful not to let them back in the door.
Well, I'm looking here. It's a 10-car train at the front of the field. If I was Sean Campbell right now, I absolutely would look to the inside and make this move, because it's clear that Ross O'Connor doesn't have the same speed. He lunges for it. Now needs to go to the outside of 2 and leave a car width on the inside. Next 2 corners are right-handers, so he'll procure it past the impulse car at turn 3 and get the pass done. Only costs him 2.5 tenths of a second. Now he can focus on trying to reel back Aiden Maytage. Maytage has done very well. He's decided, right, it's runaway time. And everyone else in that train now will take a look at Ross O'Connor and say, can you hang out there along Holman Boulevard? Big lunge by Hovison, not going to quite get there. And now there's going to be moves around then as the likes of La Charité fights Alex Johnson. Behind there, Munoz and Janney then on the back of the train also scrapping for it.
Yeah, Janny kind of came out of nowhere on this one. He earned a spot from Xander Reed being involved in that incident, but he's now up into 10th. So he's gained a couple since we weren't looking and is not too far behind his teammate Mitchell de Jong. Unfortunately, not where they exactly wanted to be compared to how they ran before. Ooh, as La Charité is the one under attack from Mitchell.
Well, I think that was all down to Alex Johnson. He missed the apex at turn 12, Joe. The Charité then looked to try and switch back on him and ran himself out of road, and then that put Mitchell de Jong in the line to try and say, look, I can go for this move, I've got a chance, but it's going to be all calm at the moment into turn number 1, with Gianni now bringing Kevin Desnoyers, Daniel Ferguson, and the next group. Suddenly, Joe, I look back to Kane Middleton. This is an 18-car battle for the race lead, 28 minutes into a 40-minute race.
Oh, that is amazing. If you make a mistake, if you wind up doing what we saw the Coanda drivers do, then you are suddenly dropping tons and tons of positions. Again, you have to be picture perfect out there. 12 minutes left with Aiden Mataj, our leader. Sean Campbell, who was honestly just simply looking to get into the top 3 in points, now has a shot at a potential win. There is Mitchell de Jong, who has to chop off the nose of Jaden Munoz and Guy Levesque there through turn 11.
Jean-Edouard Maillot, no shocks there, gets minor contact responsibility and 5 seconds added on at the end of the race, as Munoz here in 9th position is now really staring down Guy Levesque, thinking, right, we're into the crunch time of this race. We are going to have to start making moves. We are going to have to start breaking up these trains if we're wanting to go and get by. And we are going to have to start asking here, what is going to be the end result? You look at drivers who have moved up. Guy Levesque up 6 today to 8th place. La Charité up 4 and eyeing up +5, +6, +7, all there in front, all very, very gettable as Aidan Pohl now looks to try and figure out whether he's got a way through on Aidan Young, and clearly it's the AI of Aidan Pohl that is going to get through the AY of Aidan Young.
Yep, the 43 moves into 18th with that maneuver. Look at all the gravel that's on the outside of that corner from the cars that had to scatter to avoid the accident. Looking back off of the exhaust of Pohl at Young, not quite there. Meanwhile, Matthias and Campbell have actually run away a little bit. Hovesen back by about 9/10 of a second, although La Charité is fighting side by side with Ross O'Connor. Mitchell de Jong says he's got a great chance to try and use something out of this, but he's got no place to go. Is he thinking 3 wide down into turn 12? No, in fact, he's under attack. That's Guy Levesque, who tries to get in there, but does not get the spot.
It's all starting to get chippy out there. It was a case of looking at Ross O'Connor with the slowdown penalty, and then he found himself on the freight train. Gianni on the inside then will look to push Jaden Munoz right up to the wall, and you can see all of the smoke coming off it, but trying to lean on the side draft there. There's a bit of bump towards turn number 1, but can Gianni find his way on the inside? Answer to that is yes, he can, but Munoz opening up the steering will need to find turn 2, and ultimately I think he's on the wrong side of it, and he gets a shot from behind from Kevin Desnoyers, and critically, because Mitchell de Jong is in 7th place and Xander Reed is in the final points position of 15th, it won't matter where he's finishing right now. So long as he is ahead of Xander Reed, it's championship status here for Mitchell de Jong.
So as he is positioned, you heard what Jake said, he is still our champion, at least for this season. We've got a bit of a replay of someone, I think, getting a slowdown penalty.
It was O'Connor.
For cutting a corner.
So here's the look. He just overcommits through, and you are trying to get that jump through, and basically you've got to have 2 tyres on the rear, cutting with 2 tyres on the front. O'Connor overcommits it, and suddenly, look, I'm going to have to lift and let the entire pack through. That's why he dropped down so quickly, and that's what forced the side-by-side with La Charité that really put... Oh, Munoz!
Jaden falls out of the points with that slip-up. De Jong, look at him, sawing at the wheel. Somebody smacks the outside. I think that was Guy Levesque.
It was, and that's going to be huge as now here comes the move for the race lead. Sean Campbell down down the inside of Aiden Maytash, and he gets it sorted. Maytash is looking to cut back up. 8.5 minutes to hold for Sean Campbell. Right place, right time, right opportunity. Grid and go are looking at Sean Campbell to try and be grid and gone from everyone else.
And in fact, that is what they have done, these top two. I mentioned a little bit before that they were 0.8 of a second ahead. It's now 1.5. These two are looking much faster than the group behind them. I wonder if Sean Campbell feels like he's got enough speed that he knows he could break away completely, which we haven't really had anybody do except for Mitchell de Jong so far this season. Hovesen currently sitting in third. He's being hunted by Johnson LeCharité. I've been noticing this, though, Jake. Matthijs does have a little bit of damage on the nose.
Yeah, Maytash has a bit on the nose. Hovesen has a lot on the nose. And Mitchell de Jong starting to fall down the order as he goes back now down to 10th places after he was shuffled off by Guy Levesque running through turn 10. So that's cost him a few places now as he's down to 11th fighting with Andrew Caron. Suddenly, look who's directly behind Mitchell de Jong. It's the driver he had contact with, Xander Reed, who's suddenly back in the picture to keep this one alive, heading to the championship finale.
And in fact, I think Reed is going to try and get past Caron here, who's on the defensive into turn one. If he can hold on and accelerate past him, which he just about does, but he doesn't have the inside into 3 and 4. And we've seen a lot of drivers start to lose out here. In fact, here comes Jordan Eyre to say, you now have given up prime real estate, my friend. He is going to try and sneak through, but decides it's not worth going wheel to wheel through the 5-6 chicane.
Definitely not, and so this has given Xander Reed a chance to be uber aggressive now, to look around at that move, get to the inside. He waits for the 11th hour against Andrew Caron. Can he command the middle of the corner here? He needs this S's to work around the outside, pin to the inside, command the left at 9. Crossover comes then to try and get the run out of 10. Great stuff out there, good move behind as well for late points, as that's Maniz getting a move on Dalton Zavadil there. So that a good change up then from them in terms of position. But look around and hey, what a move. Dalton into the back and abandon ship then and try and find a way back to prime real estate. That's even more of a late run through there from Christian Maniz. He'll now drop behind Munoz.
I don't think that'll be seen too kindly by the race control unless there was some sort of late move that caught him out. But Dalton Zavadil absolutely punching into the back of that car. It was all great until it wasn't, and look at how hard some of them are clobbering the apex curves.
And then contact on the exit for Daniel Ferguson. He absolutely chucked it up on 2 wheels, looked for that grip, but ultimately unsettled there, and the contact doing a lot. LeCharité here in 5th position. Alex Johnson, Gregory Hovesen there, all working. They're about 1.5 seconds. They're dangling at the very fringes of slipstream limit here with 5 minutes to go. I think they need some games of chicken down at turn 1 between Campbell and Maytash to get themselves back into it here. Caron still fighting to try and get by Xander Reed. Reed just 1 place behind Mitchell de Jong, but realizes he's 1.3 seconds back.
So it's going to take a lot for him to catch that number 48 car based on the pace we've seen from him earlier on this season. Back to Alex Johnson ahead of LeCharité and behind Gregory Hovesen to decide the final step on the podium. We crossed the line with about 4.5 minutes left to go. So we're looking at, what, 3 or 4 laps, I think.
We are, and so with that, you are trying to time this one to the absolute limit of where am I, right place, right time, with the number of laps to go. No moves offered at the front. Alex Johnson happily is going to have to be in the middle of this group. He started this race in 7th. He's up 3 spots. Paul Darling having a very good race from 24th. He lunges up the inside of Christian Maniz. What a day this would be for Paul Darling. He's got 2 to get right now in the forms of Aiden Young and Jaden Munoz, and he might be on for his first points of the season.
Yeah, I've been calling races with Paul Darling in them for many years now, and seeing him up in this group definitely brings a little smile, but he's not scored any points, like you said, up to now, and he's trying to actually give a little bit of a bump draft to Aiden Young, down to turn 7, hoping that they can catch up to Jaden Munoz. That's barring any sort of penalty that we might have for that one incident that we saw down into turn 12 a little earlier.
Yep, so we haven't really seen too much out there of that regard, and Paul Darling here in this pack, they'll all know that they are close to a top 15, but close isn't good enough to get you points. You're going to have to earn it a little bit better out there, working in through 12, seeing that slightly wider line, half defense from Aiden Young. He's really doing well at holding on that prowess, and then you look behind in that group on who's trying to move through. Aiden Pohl had a little sneaky chance at Maniz, and then Mayo is there. La Charité watches the side-by-side thing going on, as there is Alex Johnson holding him. Behind that gets busy here, Ross O'Connor and Michael Janney.
Giving him a little bit of a hip check coming off of turn 2, but thankfully they stay pointed the right way. Janney falls back into 7th once again with Guy Levesque, Hoveson's teammate, trying to see if he can get any more spots upwards. All of them off onto Pullman Boulevard here. We got a little bit of a battle once again. Down under braking, Hoveson having to go defensive to keep Johnson back. La Charité trying to see if that gives him a chance. It does not, unfortunately.
And in the background, Michael Janney gets his pass on Ross O'Connor, so that puts him up one more and will feel comfortable with it. But they are looking at that clock. They are looking at the couple of laps to go. It will be over the line. And Alex Johnson realizing that this has been a good defense with the damage seen for Gregory Hoverson. Good news is engine's in the back, so even damage on the front, well, it's only going to do a bit of aerodynamics, nothing more, nothing less on that sleek shape design. But for the moment, Alex Johnson will know he wants third. This would be huge for Fiercely Forward. 2 cars on the podium here at Indy.
And 2 laps left to go as they cross the line. Matage and Campbell still close enough that they could fight. Johnson with a good run here, and Hoveson does not cover it off. He leaves the door open. That may have been an ill-fated move because he's not going to have the right side. No, he cuts in front of him, had just enough space in a turn 3.
Yeah, that was a lovely drive off of turn 2. You can hang it through the apex and try and hold steady. Look at the kick up there from the likes of Aiden Matage going through. Now big move over to the right-hand side, trying to shake draft immediately, and a little alert there from Matage trying to go for the race lead. It's close, but for the moment, here comes La Charité.
Again, just about rubbing doors through the corners, and once again, Antoine has to give it up. Hoveson's loving this because it gives him at least a couple more car lengths away from them. Question is, will they catch him back up on this last lap, or is he separated enough that they can't run him down now? Meanwhile, we are coming to the white flag.
We are in that final lap of this race. I think is going to be so telling here in terms of who wants what, because Mitchell de Jong's getting aggro, and if he gets aggro, he'll allow Xander Reed in here with Kevin De Neuer out there. There will be a case of Sean Campbell, who will have 0.4 of a second to lead this final lap out there, and he's got the margin. It's all in the mirrors right now from Matage, and La Charité now is going to go for 4th because he wants points to book his top 3 seat. And Johnson cutting himself close then, a little too fine as he worked through, gets the treatment. Both of them are going to go skirting through the grass. Both of them are going to lose a bunch of time. Michael Janney is going to bring himself to the dance, and everybody closes in with half a lap.
I don't know if he's got enough time to try and attack. He's not quite near enough. Meanwhile, Matage is within about 1/4 of a second of Campbell. It'll take a miracle dive in here, and he doesn't try it this time. Last opportunity, probably going to be turn 12. Other than that, it's rare that you see passes elsewhere on the lap. Down into 10 now, up through the sweep of 11. He's very, very close. Sean might have to cover him off if he wants to play it safe here. Into the braking of the right-hander through the short chute. He's going to send it in, and Sean leaves the door open. He cuts back underneath him, and he overshoots. Aiden goes off into the grass. Campbell easily back up into the lead. Smart move by the 26 in the end, despite leaving himself vulnerable. And our first driver to win that is not Mitchell de Jong is going to be Sean Campbell in round 5.
What a battle, and in 10th position, Mitchell de Jong will cross the line and become champion of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup North America.
It might not be the best drive that he was hoping for to clinch with, but Mitchell de Jong still got the job done, and he is locked into first place, and the first driver this season who has been locked into the top 3. So Kawanda will have an interesting debrief on this one, but did you see the shrug from Sean Campbell as he crossed the line? It's almost as if he had to say, I don't know quite what that was.
Well, I would turn around at it and he would say, look, Aidan Maytosh is going to try and outbrake me every single stage of the way there, Joe. But the key is Sean Campbell knows where he needs to brake for that corner. If Aidan thinks he can brake later, he can try. And he goes, you tried, but it's never going to work. That's just a simple case of Sean going, that's my race, effectively, and I'll take it.
Mitchell doesn't look his usual, cheerful self after a race here, and I can kind of understand. I don't know if he's been told that he's sealed that first place, but this was obviously a little bit less than he wanted. But I think we should definitely turn our attention to the 26, and what a fantastic race he had, because we have to remember he wasn't in the lead after that accident. He had to fight his way up to it. So a round of applause here for Sean Campbell.
But you've got to also take a look at how Sean Campbell raced that, and he raced that perfectly as a driver who qualified in 3rd position, never really needing to get himself involved, always waiting for the race to come to him. And so sometimes you take a look at drivers who find themselves that haven't quite qualified where they need to, and they go out and they be uber aggressive, Joe. But I think the big difference maker is Sean Campbell took one look at the way he was going to race, and he said, this race, it's going to come to me. And that is why he's got this victory, because he just let everyone work around him, and he said, I drive my race.
We wondered when the stranglehold will be broken, and it turned out it was at the penultimate round, and it was Sean Campbell who came away taking the win. It was kind of an open goal this time around. He was about a second ahead of Aidan after Aidan made a late dive there at turn 12. Just was not meant to be. Gregory Hoveson rounds out your podium. It was Alex Johnson who gets a nice 4th, with La Charité an excellent top 5. I don't know what the math is, but that certainly won't do him too much harm in trying to get him into the top 3. Michael Janney was 6th, his first time being the top finisher in that Coanda team this series. Ross O'Connor was 7th, and Guy Levesque in 8th. Kevin Denoyer is 9th, and the farthest down finish we've seen for Mitchell de Jong in 10th.
And so over the page then into 11th position, where Xander Reed will be looking at that going, oh, my chance. It's gone around again. Andrew Caron will end up in 12th, with Jordan Eyre picking up his first points of the season in 13th. Jaden Munoz and Dalton Zavadil will round them out, with Paul Darling. Oh, that's heartbreak for him. 3,000 shy at the line of points as he finds himself then unlucky 16th. Aidan Young is 17th ahead of Christian Moniz, with Aidan Pohl 19th, and Anthony Landry rounding out the 20.
21st goes to Jean-Edouard Maillot, and then you've got Floyd Kerr in 22nd, Nathan Olson P23. Luke Wallace recovered after a strange opening incident there to finish 24th. Charles-Etienne Boucher was 25th. Anish Hassan, P26 for him. Justin Rame, 27th, and Cade Middleton, 28th. This is unofficial, of course, as we do have some post-race time penalties that need to be added. George Griffiths was 29th. And then we get into some drivers with DNFs. Daniel Ferguson was 30th, Manny Troncoso 31st, Leonardo Dragata 32nd, and Aaron Janson last on the field today there with an opening lap incident. I believe we've got Sean Campbell ready to chat with us. Let's talk to our first-time winner here in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup North America Series. Sean, congratulations. I have to ask, your reaction when you came across the line was a shrug. What was that about?
I'm kind of weirded out by this race, I'll be honest. That was everything was kind of backwards. I thought the draft was going to be way stronger than Road America, and it wasn't. It was like 2/10. And I thought, I just, it was weird. But, like, in a good way, clearly.
Now, you were among those that saw those two Coanda cars go off. You were trying to fight for the lead, but you didn't wind up with the lead immediately. What's going through your mind when you find yourself positioned knowing that the win is very possible?
Well, the first thing that ran through my mind was what happened at Sebring at the hairpin, right? So I gave him just a little bit more room, and I didn't get collected this time, which was nice. But then it was just like, I'm pretty sure he has damage. Just don't overheat the tires trying to get to him. Just slowly do it. And I did overheat the tires a little bit. I started getting a little nervous, but I backed off a little bit and caught up, and I knew that since we were kind of getting away from the guys behind, because I think damage as well in that point. So I knew if I wanted to go for it, I could, and we would not be caught back up, or like it would take a little bit of fighting to do it. So yeah, it was just get to him. Just don't screw it up, basically.
Well, it was a smart way to go about trying to get the win. And lastly, let's talk about that final move into turn 12. When you left the door open, I thought that was the wrong move, but it turned out to be the right one. Did you know that he was going to overshoot?
I didn't know it, but I saw it. Like, I didn't know it was guaranteed until I looked in the virtual mirror and I saw him come flying in. In this car, it really is like, if you brake just a teeny too much, the braking, like the speed at which the car slows down decreases dramatically, and then you can't turn in. As soon as I saw him start go really fast in the braking zone, I was like, yep, he can have the corner because he's not going to make the exit. And it turned out to be true. So that was nice.
Great stuff. Congratulations. Enjoy the win. And don't think I didn't see that Nick Cage on your computer.
Yeah, and the cone back here.
Oh, I missed the cone.
It's a
Great
holdover
stuff.
from 2021.
Thank you. That was Sean Campbell, our winner here in round 5. And meanwhile, Jake has caught up with Aiden Maytaj, our second place finisher.
Now, Aiden, you had a really, really strong shot of it today. Qualifying looked absolutely fantastic. Race pace was right up there. The two Coanda cars come together. You get a little bit caught up with it with a tiny bit of damage. Without that contact, do you think you were away and home and dry?
Well, honestly, I really don't know. At the end, Sean had really good pace, I was just trying to break away from P3 to get that guaranteed P2. In the end, I did have a bit of understeer from the damage in the S's, so that made that a bit difficult getting the right exit. But I really don't think that would have changed the outcome that much.
So let's talk about then that final lap, because I think that was the most critical out there for you in the Fiercely Forward team. You needed to find a move. You had a wonderful run from turn 7 up to turn 12, and then it just looked like the brakes just decided they didn't want to slow up enough for you.
Yeah, I really at the beginning I really just missed my braking point, and then I tried to compensate for it, and like Sean said in the previous interview, it just didn't turn. That's how this car is. It doesn't turn once you have it. But yeah, I really thought I had that on if I made my braking point.
Well, it's still a really strong result for you. You know how important this is for you and the team, and critically, it sets you up well for this final round of the championship in 7 days' time from Road Atlanta. How does that now stack up for you, knowing that you're finding form at just the right end of the season?
Well, the past rounds have definitely been rough. I've gotten 2 impeding penalties the last race from me just being, just not making the right decisions at the right times. And before then, even then, I didn't really get in the points. But Indy's really one of my favorite tracks. I just love how you drive this track particularly, and it's amazing to me. So yeah, I hope to have a good petit. But I don't think I'm in the run for anything except really a top 10. But yeah, I'll do the best I can.
Look, you got to take a top 10. It's all about those goals and what you can achieve. But Aiden Maytaj then at Fiercely Forward having a very strong run here today, and it must be credited. Joe, I think you found a Falcon sim racing driver.
I have indeed, and Gregory Hoveson gets another top 3 here. Greg, you were amongst those that went 3 wide down into turn 1 on lap 1. I know a lot of us were holding our breath expecting some sort of big pileup, but it never came. How were your nerves going into that?
Yeah, it was pretty hectic, but like you said, they all are. So you got to move forward. This car is really tough to, get an edge on somebody once everybody's settled down. So yeah, I just thought I could make some moves in one like I've been doing all season, but I actually went backwards this time around. So yeah, decided to pull out, not cause a wreck. So pleased that I didn't, and then was able to keep the wheels on it until, of course, the Coanda shunt in front.
Yeah, and you were obviously aggressive to try to get in there, but understandably so. Once the top two started to run away, was there damage that was slowing you down, or were they just simply outpacing you?
No, the car didn't drive at all. This is probably the worst it's been all season. I think I've had damage every single race, so pleased to actually, hold on to one while nursing the car, because the other few rounds have just been, lap one, turn one damage, and the whole race is a suffer. So at least I got to get halfway through this one without damage.
So your best finish of the season so far, can you do any better, second or first at Road Atlanta?
Well, Road Atlanta is going to be a coin flip with the queue. I think you saw it this round with, I think, majority of the people in front of me, other than the two Coanda boys, were on the first group of quali. I think the first group of quali was a bit quicker. So yeah, I guess I just have to be in the top whatever, or on the odd numbers for the next round to get the first shot at it. But no, regardless, it's Road Atlanta. I think everybody in this series has driven it enough that we all sort of know what's going on. We'll just have to sort of tame the curbs down the S's and whatnot in this pogo stick car. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's been a long season.
Well, this was a well-run race. Great job picking up the opportunity, and congratulations on a podium.
Awesome. Just want to give a big thanks to Falcon Sim Racing by SX, all the boys, Guillaume as well. I know he had a great result at the Glen as well, so happy to have 2 podiums now for the team. So very happy about that. Thank you, guys.
Wonderful stuff there from the driver of the 33, which is going to wrap us up for tonight. But of course, if you've been tuning in, there's more to come this season, and that will be at Road Atlanta on the 22nd of April. It is the series finale, and the racing will kick off at 8:55 p.m. Eastern. I'm really looking forward to that, Jake.
I am as well. This is a circuit that really does promote a wonderful style of racing. The first half of the lap, really technical, really all about give yourself a platform. And then the moment you come out of turn 7, that slightly off camber right-hander, that run to 10A and 10B is the most amazing place to go and get passes. And this is one of the few circuits that says any car, any style, this is going to have great racing right up to the checkered flag.
And speaking of great racing, we've heard the Coanda team say time and again, there are no team orders. Jake, we finally saw it today. It came true, and that is what everybody else has been waiting for.
Well, this is why team orders do exist, because the ultimate goal, and if you go to the Sim Racers Handbook, right, and you look at the rules page at the front of it, it says Rule 1, don't hit your teammate. And just below it, it says Rule 2, in capital, block capital letters, don't hit your teammate. Because you know that the moment you hit your teammate, that it is a fractious relationship. Why did you do that? How did that happen? You've cost me points. You've cost me points. We've cost each other points. And look at us now. It's going to be a case of they've earned the right to race each other for the fact they've had so many 1-2s, so it won't be as much at the end of the world. But you saw how aggressive Mitchell de Jong was on the cooldown lap, just desperate to get back to pit. So I think it sits down, Joe. It looks in a position, those Coanda drivers, I think they'll be thinking a little bit more before they go back to their Christmas card list.
That or gloves are off out there. We'll see which happens. But a big thank you, of course, to our team today, Dougie, Christian, and Daniel, as well as Jake here in the booth. Make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.
This is the new 911 Cup, a 520 horsepower flat 6 purpose-built race car. Redline, nearly 9,000 RPM. Put 20 of them together, you get Carrera Cup, one of the longest running international race series on the planet. Every driver gets the same car, same engine, same aero, and in America, the same Pirelli tire. Modifications, not allowed. So when the green flag drops, there's nowhere to hide. It comes down to the driver. Have racecraft? Good, you're gonna need it. For 30 years, this series has tested the best drivers around the globe. Nailing a lap in one of these, there is no substitute.
This is iRacing.
When we began racing, we started with a question. Can a dream become a legacy? Across endless nights, relentless rain, competition that never slows. Through every failure, every win, every single race, we've asked ourselves, can a dream become a legacy? And 75 years later, the answer is clear. Because we weren't built for racing, we were born for it.